Have you been looking to give a little character to your bathroom? In today's video, I'll show you how. We like to have a little character in our bathrooms, so we install just regular cabinets and then put a vessel sink on it with a vessel faucet, and it adds a little bit of uniqueness to our bathrooms. Today we're going to be taking this tall cabinet and actually converting it into a lavatory base. So I'll be installing a vessel sink and a vessel faucet on it. So I'll just go through the step-by-step on how to mount everything. And also, if you have a drawer involved, we're going to end up deleting this drawer and using the front panel and just reattaching that to the cabinet itself. So hold on, here we go. So we ordered both of these off Amazon. This is the porcelain vessel sink. We have these throughout the house. I really like the look of them. They're rectangular, and they're also very sturdy porcelain, very quality. And then I also just picked up a vessel faucet that had great reviews. And that has everything included. It has the faucet, has the pop-up drain assembly, the integrated supply lines, comes with a wrench and everything to attach it. So it's a very nice, thorough kit, and it also has adapters for 1/2 to 3/8. We won't be using these. Our angle stops are already 3/8, so I'll put these to the side, save them for another project. So first things first, you need to end up fitting the cabinet in. On this one, I ended up cutting out the back of it to fit the drains and the water lines into. I made sure it's not going to be structurally compromised when I did that, so you do want to make sure that's part of it. If you do have to end up hacking into it, you want to make sure that you may need to put in some bracing if it is kind of wobbly and it loses kind of its integrity. Okay, so that's what I had to do on this one. The back was plywood, and it has a very nice plywood base inside shelf. So I'm going to be reattaching. I'm going to have to lengthen the drain, and as far as the stops goes, those are good enough length with the integrated supply lines that come with the faucet, so I'll be able to just remove this and install that. So I'm going to go ahead and lengthen my drain lines and get that all prepped, and then we'll go ahead and center the sink out where that's going to go, fit that to the P-trap, and then install the faucet as well. So the first thing we're going to address is the drain itself. From the existing sink that was in here was a pedestal sink. I'm going to be putting its drain, but I have a little bit of a gap, so I'm going to go ahead and install a 6-inch, this is 1.5 inch ABS piping. I'm going to have that installed so I'm able to go ahead and install the drain. Okay, so what I use, I'm going to have a 1.5 inch glue-on coupling, but I'm also going to be installing, this is called a Fernco coupling. It's got 2 clamps on it. You can find it at any hardware store. This is 1.5 inch. Okay, so what I'll be doing, I'll be slipping the new piece in, and that just inserts in there, and then you can tighten up these 2 clamps on the pipe once you install it. I leave these clamps loose until I'm done with my installation, just in case I need to rotate the line so the P-trap fits properly. And once that's done and I get the drain hooked up, I tighten these up, and that'll ensure there's no leakage. So I'm going to go ahead and glue on my extension onto the drain line itself. You want to make sure that you have some type of covering, or you want to make sure you have some type of protective covering, just in case the ABS glue drips somewhere. You can also use 2 of these Fernco couplings if you want, if you don't want to glue at all. That's a great option. It costs basically the same price as a small can of ABS glue. So you can do that option. It'll end up probably being cheaper and give you a little more flexibility in what you're doing. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get this piece glued on. You don't want to go crazy with the glue, just a nice film of it. And the nice thing about ABS glue, it does take a little bit of time to adhere, so you have a little time to do what you need to do. Okay, got that in place. Now we're going to take our Fernco coupling and just slip that all the way up like that, and we're going to put this into place. Alright, so I'm just going to slip my coupling over, and we're just going to leave that. I'm going to spin it out of the way. And as far as the water lines, those are in good shape, so we'll go ahead and prep our top side. So when you're getting prepared to set your vessel sink, make sure that you're going to be in line fairly decent with the drain line. And also you're going to want to take a measuring tape, make sure you're fairly straight before you end up cutting your hole. Also on the faucet, where you're going to be putting your faucet hole. Look underneath, make sure there aren't any bracing in the way. If there is, adjust it a little bit so you have a nice flat surface to mount this to. So I'm going to go ahead and get my faucet hole drilled in first, and then we'll adjust the sink to wherever the spout's going to spill over. So now I'm going to bore a hole in the top of the cabinet itself. This is, I believe, an 1 3/8 1 1/4 drill hole saw, and we're just going to put that in. Okay, there we go. Nice thick top, just like they used to make them. Solid wood, not plywood. So now we're ready for our faucet install. We'll go ahead and get that in place, not tight, but I want to get it so I can arrange it and move it. And then once I get it figured out, I'm going to crank it down and tighten it up. Okay, so we got our faucet here, and like I said, it comes with everything included in it, including the wrench and an O-ring for the seal. This faucet is seems to be a very nice quality faucet, so I'm really happy with that. I'm going to take my anchor, screw that into the unit itself here. I'll take a pair of pliers and just make sure that's good solid. So we'll take our nut off here. Alright, once that's off, go ahead and get our O-ring seal. Drop that on and just work that into the groove, just like that. Alright, that's complete right there. We got our seal. And now we're going to take our mounting gear and put that underneath. It does include a rubber for the bottom. I actually don't use these. Over time, these compress and they shrink and your faucet becomes loose. I just go metal on wood with the steel one. So I'm going to just throw that away. And like I said, I'm just going to tighten this up loosely, and we do have a wrench. Okay, so we got the faucet in place. Like I said, it is loose, so I can move it around. And I'm going to bring in my sink vessel. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and make sure, I kind of like to have it spill out towards the drain. And if it spatters, it just gets all over everything. So I kind of like a direct little shot to where the drain hole is. Alright, so once we have that in, I'm going to go ahead and measure. This is 2 inches from the edge here. This isn't very critical now, but we want to make sure our hole's in the right spot. Okay, right there we go. And you also want to make sure you're not too far off where you have, you're going to have some drips. Make sure those are actually going to come down into the drain itself as well. Okay, now we have this, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to circle the drain. Okay, so when mounting these, some people will just cut a hole big enough for the drain itself. I cut a large hole. I want this mounted to the vessel sink, and then when I bring the vessel sink down, I'll go ahead and caulk everything and keep that in place. So I want to make sure I have a decent sized hole for that. So I'm just going to cut a square. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. You can use a large hole saw, which I've done a lot in the past, but this works just as well. That way I don't have to worry about if I need to adjust it. I can. If you use a hole saw, you may be limited on how your placement goes. Okay, so I'm just going to put 2 starter holes in here, or maybe 3. I'm not sure yet. And then I'll take my Sawzall and just finish that off. Alright, it's not straight, but guess what? I'm the only one that knows it's there. If I was doing this for a customer, I'd probably put it a little straighter. And you do want to make sure that this is free of any debris. Okay, so I'll go ahead and assemble the drain onto the sink. Okay, this one does come with a seal for the drain. I'm going to check that out before I use it. A lot of times I use putty just because I know that it's going to sit flat. I don't want to have any staining around here after the fact. That has to end up being maintained. So, and this one actually fits good. I do notice that the sink drains with the clear rubber, they do compress a lot better, so it brings that flange down tight to the sink. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to bring our seal up, and we want to go cone up on that. Okay, and then our washer and our nut. And as I tighten this up, it should work a lot easier as far as bringing that rubber cone up. Alright, so this part is fairly important. I put a lot of these vessel sinks in with the vessel drains or just the single pop-ups. And what happens a lot of times is that you're going to get a little leakage that's going to follow the threads down. So I just take a little pipe compound and I just coat that up nicely on the cone washer itself and on the threads. And then we're just going to tighten it up the rest of the way. Alright, so the best thing to use on this is adjustable channel lock wrench. And we're just going to tighten that up. And you're going to start seeing this rubber compress. And I'm just going to tighten that up with a fairly good force and make sure that's nice and snug. So now on the other side, our flange is actually sitting very nice. It's seated well on the porcelain. We don't have that little rubber gap there that tends to want to hold water. Just have to end up trying to get the scale off all the time, and you can actually damage the ring here just by putting abrasive on it. So now I'm ready to put the adapter tube on. This is what will slip on to the P-trap down below or the extension tube. You do need to seal this. This will leak. So you can use pipe compound. I would suggest getting that. I use Megalock. It's a great brand. I've been using it for probably 15 years when it first came out, and the stuff is great. Okay, now we got that on. I'm going to go ahead and slip that into our hole and remeasure. Okay, so there we go. That's square off the front, and that's the reveal that we want to make sure it's square off of. And we're good here. Get a little dribble. I might just go ahead and, yeah, scoot that a little bit that way. Okay, that's done. I'm going to go ahead and connect the drain, connect the supply lines, and then we'll go ahead and get everything caulked into place, and that'll be it. Your install will be complete. Okay, at this point I'm going to go ahead and tighten my faucet down. Okay, that's good and snug. That's not going to go anywhere. Alright, so the next thing we're going to work on is our drain. I've got my P-trap bag here. I'm going to take our nut and slip it over this and slip it onto our trap itself. And we're going to take our drain nut and get that washer. Now make sure the bevel is actually facing away from the nut. I see a lot of people end up changing that out. That will leak over time. Okay, so get that worked into place, and I'm just going to try to dry fit it in. The nice thing about P-trap is if you are running out of room, like this is too close, like on this one right here, I can go ahead and rotate the drain for the P-trap to meet up wherever I need to. So I'm going to go ahead and probably go pretty much right there. I'm going to cut off this excess right here. Bring my drain back. And now I'm going to take my extension tube to fill in the gap between the P-trap and the drain itself. So we can go ahead and be safely about right there. Cut that off. Now when doing this, you're going to want to use your, for your 1.5" P-trap, there's a couple different washers in here. One is actually for this drain, which is 1.25 inches. That's going to be this thicker looking one. So we're going to take our nut and then our thicker drain seal, and then we're going to push that up, and we'll take our extension tube, put that into place. Tighten that down. And this is going to be wobbly if you're using the Frinkos. And then I'll just do these lightly, and then I'll do a final tight on these. Now that that's done, I'm going to go ahead and tighten up the Frinko because everything is in line, it's all straight. Okay, that's a lot better. Now I can go ahead and tighten things down. That'll stiffen it up. Okay, there we go. So our drain is in, that's simple. I'm just going to hook up the hot and cold supply lines, and then we'll continue on above with the getting it sealed. Okay, so now everything's connected. We got the drain connected, we've got the supply lines, the faucet is in place. We're going to go ahead and turn that on. You're probably going to get a little bit of an air squirt. There we go, we're good. Okay, so that's flowing exactly the way I want it to, straight into the drain. So it looks really good. Our next step is to remeasure the reveal. And it did end up moving a little bit. So I'm going to bring that back to 2 inches. Okay, there we go. So we're back at 2 inches. It's ready to caulk it in place. Now I don't have the actual cabinet caulked to the wall yet. I'm going to do that after. I just wanted to make sure everything was in place before I do that. When you do that, though, you can just use standard tub and tile caulking on that. I'm going to use white and, of course, my sponge. And that'll cure, I think, 12 hours. And then once that's done, the cabinet will be sturdy. If you can find a stud in the wall, go ahead and attach it, and that'll work as well. But you'll still need to caulk this back piece here. If any water drops back there, you want to make sure that it stays on the top. So I've got my caulking here. This is just standard tub and tile caulk. This is siliconized, so it is still water cleanup, but when it dries with a little bit of silicone on it. Just helps out with the bondability onto the porcelain and from any water intrusion. And this is also clear. It's going to go on white, but it will be clear once it dries out. So we'll go ahead and take that. And the reason I don't use regular silicone is because of the cleanup. It's very hard to clean it up. It takes kind of the joy out of it, that's for sure. The back side can be difficult. You kind of use your finger and just kind of get it back there and kind of, I squeeze a little bit more than I need, and then I take my finger and then bring it back around. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and just work that caulking in with my finger and run that around the edge. Okay, once that's done, I'm going to go ahead and remove this because we will be getting a little bit caulking in here. I want to make sure we keep everything clean. I'm going to take my sponge and I'm going to hold the sink in tightly with my hand, and I'm just going to clean up any of the excess caulking with the sponge itself. Okay, that actually looks pretty good. All right, we'll go ahead and clean the sponge up. We'll make sure all of our caulking is out of the sink itself. Okay, that's done. You probably will be getting a little bit of caulking on the faucet, so we want to make sure that's cleaned up. If you're using chrome or stainless or rubbed oil, you want to make sure that if there's any of that on there, we want that gone. And if you have any on the sink that kind of got on it, on the sides here like this did, we'll go ahead and remove that as well. If it seems to be drying extremely fast like this is, because we're in a low humidity area, just give a little bit of wet on it. And when you're doing this, just make sure you're gentle so you don't move this base. Okay, that is it. It is installed, it's working, and we're going to go ahead and let this set up for 12 hours. This, like I said, this caulking that I'm using, you can use white. I use clear just in case there's anything down the road that this does shrink. I want to keep it clear. If it's white, it will kind of show that. You'll see that seam. So I just stay away with it, just using the clear. Okay, let nobody touch that for 12 hours, and then that'll be it for that. All right, so pretty much every time that I've done this, I've always had a drawer here or something, and like this one right here, we're gonna scoot it into there. That is hitting the P-trap or the drain on the sink itself. So I'm gonna remove this front cover here, and then I'm gonna just go ahead and adhere that into place. This drawer won't be usable. You can also, if you want to, and I don't know, this is just a guest bathroom, so I'm not so worried about it. I can also take this drawer, cut it down to size, and just have a small drawer. But on this case, I'm just going to take the front off and just glue it in the spot. Okay, so I have my drawer front here, and I'm going to go take my caulking, the same stuff I used on the sink itself, and I'm going to run a bead around, and also on the base of the unit itself. Okay, we're going to put that out of place. If you have any caulking that kind of looks like it's going over the top, to get rid of that. And we'll get our base put in. Make sure it's nice and square. If you do have any little bit of caulking that's squeezed out, just go ahead and clean that off. And that'll take care of that. Okay, that's in place. I'm going to take a little bit of painter's tape. Okay, and I'm going to let that set up for 12 hours, and then that'll be secure as well. You can use just regular construction adhesive. I prefer to use this because if I do get anything that squeezes out, I can clean it off, and it doesn't, I don't have to work at it. I can just either wet up a piece of paper towel or whatever and clean it off, and once that's cured out, it'll be clear. Okay, that's it. I just need to vacuum things up, and then we'll show you the final result. Okay, we've got it all the way installed. Everything's hooked up solid. I really like the way it came out. Everything's just nice and clean. Really love it. So if you're looking for a great vessel sink and you're going for this type of style and also faucet, we will have the links down below for both of these items. If you like the video, appreciate a thumbs up. And if you have any comments or questions, I'm more than happy to answer those for you. And thanks for watching DIY on the House.